It's fall, and as I work on garden cleanup, I have been watching the movements of the birds and insects in my neighborhood. Migration season is here. Many of us are familiar with the V shaped flight of Canada geese as they fly through the air, and you probably know about the amazing migration of the monarch butterfly. But what about eels and bats? In this video, I'm going to talk about 9 North American species and their journeys. Okay, we're going to start with a species you might not be familiar with, the American eel. Their migration is still something of a mystery to science. American eels are born in the Atlantic Ocean. They are catadromous fish, which means they migrate between two bodies of water, such as an ocean and river, similar to salmon. The young American eels migrate up the Atlantic and Gulf coasts, including the Mississippi, Delaware, and Hudson rivers and their tributaries. They actually make it all the way to Wisconsin and Minnesota. The eels spend 8 to 9 years living in fresh water. Adult eels then follow the river back to the ocean where they mate. Females lay eggs and then die. Not just a few eggs either, but millions of eggs. I'm not sure where she puts them. Eels are an important food source for other fish and birds and are used for fishing bait and are eaten by indigenous populations. My mother would have told this duck to take smaller bites and chew your food. Unfortunately, dam construction has caused the eel's population to drop considerably. Hi, and welcome to my channel. I'm Amy, an environmental educator, retired science teacher, and wildlife rehabilitator. I'm currently working on my 2026 garden planner. Links to books are in the description, and your purchase helps to support our channel and helps us to help other wildlife rehabilitators. Who knew that my rabbits migrated? Well, technically, it's a hare, the Arctic hare. In 2019, 25 hares were tagged with GPS, and one traveled 241 miles or 388 kilometers in about 50 days, the longest distance ever recorded for any lagomorph. These hares travel on the Canadian island Ellesmere Island, going towards Lake Hazen. Ellesmere Island is next to Greenland, so you know these hares have a pretty harsh life already. They are a key species in the Arctic ecosystem, so tracking them is important. Hares, like other animals, migrate to find food and shelter. The distance per se is not what makes migration, but it is the animals moving in a synchronized manner, heading in a similar direction at the same time of year. Pronghorn are famous for their incredible speed, second only to the cheetah, and for their long seasonal migrations. Herds follow the same narrow corridors that have been used for tens of thousands of years. Some of these pathways are only a few yards wide, funneled by rivers, cliffs, or mountains. This makes the routes highly vulnerable to disruption. The pronghorn migrate a 300-mile route that has now been developed by humans. It requires crossing private property and navigating urban areas. Today's cars, fences, and suburbs create boundaries that pronghorns cannot easily cross. While deer and elk may leap over fences, pronghorns almost never jump. Wildlife corridors for pronghorn and other migratory wildlife reduces conflicts between animals and people. Check out my video on wildlife crossings to learn why they matter. Many bats stay in one region year-round, but the hoarhoe bat undertakes one of the longest migrations of any North American bat. These bats are beautifully marked with frosted fur, and they spend summers in Canada and the northern US before migrating south to warmer regions for winter. Hoarhoe bats migrate alone or in small groups, unlike birds that often travel in flocks. Their migration is closely tied to the availability of insects, particularly moths, which make up much of their diet. A fun fact is these bats have been recorded flying over the open ocean, suggesting they sometimes take surprisingly bold routes for such small animals. Gray whales are champions of ocean long distance migration. Each year they travel 10 to 12,000 miles round trip, moving from the icy feeding grounds of the Bering Sea in the Arctic to the warm lagoons of Baja California, Mexico. These lagoons provide safe, shallow waters where females give birth and nurse their calves. Gray whales have been granted protection from commercial hunting and are no longer hunted on a large scale. Their epic journey is now vital for whale watching tourism, which brings economic benefits to coastal communities from Alaska to Mexico. Fun fact: gray whales are often covered in barnacles and whale lice. A single whale can carry over 400 pounds of barnacles, creating a moving ecosystem that provides food for seabirds and fish when the barnacles are scraped off. Okay, we did biggest. Now let's look at something much smaller. Despite weighing less than a nickel, ruby-throated hummingbirds accomplish one of the most astonishing migrations in North America. Each fall, many make a nonstop flight across the Gulf of Mexico, covering about 500 miles in a single journey that can take 18 to 24 hours. They winter in Central America and then return north to breed in the eastern and central US and Canada in the summer. To prepare for migration, these hummingbirds nearly double their weight, storing fat that serves as energy for the long journey. Gardeners can help by planting nectar-rich flowers and leaving feeders out during migration season, offering some vital fuel for these tiny little powerhouses. Great white sharks move thousands of miles up and down the coasts each year. In North America, they are commonly found along the Pacific coast of California and the Atlantic coast of New England. In summer and fall, they congregate in regions that have seals and sea lions, their favorite prey. In winter, they move down the coast and may move offshore into deeper, warmer waters. In the Atlantic, sharks migrate seasonally between the northeastern U.S., like Cape Cod and New York, in the summer to the southeastern waters near Florida and the Gulf states. Great white sharks also migrate between the California coast and a remote mid-Pacific area between Hawaii and Baja California, nicknamed White Shark Cafe. Satellite tagging studies have shown that sharks travel more than 2,500 miles to this spot. Scientists aren't sure exactly why. It may be a breeding area, a feeding zone for deep water squid and fish, or even a social gathering point. How do they find their way? Great whites appear to use a combination of Earth's magnetic fields, water temperature, prey movements, and even sea floor features to guide their migrations. These abilities allow them to return to the same regions year after year with remarkable precision. The common green darner is one of the most widespread and well-known dragonflies in North America, and it also makes one of the most remarkable insect migrations on the continent. Unlike birds or mammals, green darners don't migrate as individuals making round trips. Instead, their migration is multi-generational, much like monarch butterflies. It takes 3 generations to complete the journey. Some individuals have been found to fly up to 87 miles in a single day during migration. Wow! Check out my other wildlife videos and whatever YouTube suggests for you here. Thanks for watching and have a fabulous day.